And welcome back to another Comics That Influence with Jake and Kurt. How you doing, Jake?
Hey Kurt, hey everybody, welcome back. We got some good stuff as usual. I don't know what you got, and I sometimes don't know what I got.
That is kind of the sweet spot about this because we don't do any prep talking ahead of time. We don't share anything. Literally, like moments before I press the record button, do we kind
Yeah,
of show these things to each other, and then once we crack them open. But just a shout out to you picking up Bad Axe. That comic you actually got number three. Yeah, it was number three. Um,
yes, three of
that
three.
was a couple issues, a couple of these episodes ago, and we're going to be talking to Paul O'Connor in like an hour. So we got to get through this here episode, and then get to talking to somebody that we just found out about their comic a month ago.
Yeah,
So
so
I
these are definitely comics that influence, and you know sometimes we get to meet the influencers afterwards.
the influencers, right? All right. So I have Darkstorm. Do you remember Darkstorm, Jake?
No,
Okay, because we already reviewed Darkstorm number one, like in the early episodes. I don't even remember which episode it is. I'll make a notation and a link. This is a comics black and white anthology that was put together by a artist by the name of Kent Williams,
all right.
who is a favorite of mine as artist goes. But one of the things I am mesmerized about him as a artist is he did the whole art school and hanging out with other artist people, and everybody loved comics, and so that transition out of college into the real world, they go ahead and do a comic book. And as I've often said, comic books are a great sketchbook training for becoming an artist and even maintaining and sharpening yourself as an artist. This over here, I believe, is Carl Stevenson. And you can see the life drawing gesture, right there, out of the gate. So these guys are bringing a lot of the similar aesthetics that I came out of art school with,
What's the
and
year?
even brought into comics. This is 1982.
Okay,
So and this one is, I believe, same thing. Yep, issue 182 and issue 282. So and then they've got some names in here. One I don't want to spoil because it's a really sweet one. But
okay.
Peter Cupper is in here too. So it's an anthology. Everybody gets like 5 pages, and it's black and white, and I love it. And I want to share an thing. Now, I just got this in the mail 2 days ago because blessed eBay. I had been following this, and it was expensive to me. Something I didn't really need, but I have a little margin where if the price falls below, I'll get a notification from eBay, and of course it did, and I got it for you know next to nothing. So and then it fills out the 1-2 punch here. So we got a sword and sorcery once again, another great thing for somebody to have in their wheelhouse and them become a favorite of mine when it comes to artists. So pretty straightforward. It has a lot of Jeffrey Catherine Jones
Mm-hmm.
influence, as well as the that Barry Windsor Smith Conan stuff. So really sweet. Haven't read it yet. So I'm really anxious to sit down and read that. Now this is one thing I know you do often, and I'm going to actually do it here, is stop on the ads because
Yeah.
they're getting they're getting ads because they're running a magazine and it's independent. There's plenty of distribution that I think is really going on out there. So they're learning the industry inside out. It's one thing to be an artist and then enter the industry, but it's another one to actually do that. I actually made a comic book for my senior project graduating college. And one day I will show that off to the world. Right now, we're focusing in on Turbo and Chrome. But this is something that always mesmerized me. And I do have a couple of portfolios that I'll probably end up sharing when down the road. But art portfolios were like a big thing. And it was a great way to get just art from your favorite comic book guys and gals and put it, because you got Wendy Penny over here for Elf Quest, Jeffrey Catherine Jones over here,
Yeah,
Rowana
they're so
Morel,
rare today.
Frank Bruno. Yes, and that's exactly what I was gonna say, Jake. It's like, what happened? Why aren't art prints still like so desired and being advertised? It's a strange concept. When I got back into, and I mean, I know in art shows, like when you do like Dragon Con, Gen Con, or anything, fans of yours, when they come and see you, will buy a print. You know, it's kind of a gesture that I can't afford some high ticketed item, so I'll buy a $20-$25 print. But, you know, back in the day, you know, this must have been just a really great way to subsidize your income, but also raise your status as an artist. So Arthur Soydum, Charlie, and
Yeah, a set of prints.
Flytrap. It's just Greg
A set of
Hildebrandt.
prints. Yeah, set of prints is like a little portfolio release, right? You could do some really nice printing, and you could sign them and sell them that way, right? And you could upsell. You could do
But they
cons.
actually accumulate more value, or should accumulate, I should say, more value as you know you become more and more popular, especially when they're done as a limited edition. You know, so if you only run off, because the ones, some of the ones that I've been able to get a hold of had that, so there was like one of 200 or 300 or whatever. But you
And you
know,
would
as a
think
matter of
that
fact,
you would think there would be a lot more of those as like as Kickstarter incentives too. Now that like half the comics that are out are on Kickstarter.
I
For
just, I just, I just got this. This is only 500 of these, and once again, blessed eBay helped me get this for less than $100, I should say, because that's what the going rate is for an Alfredo Akala Voltar, which is one of his. You know, this is the man when it came down to Conan comics for Marvel. But this is I forget the number I have, but this is one that and I'm still after him, and I think this is something that needs to come back.
is that a
You
print
know,
that you got there?
those. That's an limited edition set of prints in a portfolio, 6 of them.
Yeah, you
I'll
don't
show
see
it
it.
off at some of the. No,
You
man,
don't see them
come
too
on.
much, and also you don't see them too much on aftermarket stuff. I don't see them at cons.
Exactly,
I don't see them on eBay. I don't
exactly.
see people are really just
It's
holding
weird.
on to them, I guess.
Yeah, it's weird. So enough of that rant. Of course, you got all the comics that are coming out from Eclipse. Back here was Pacific Comics. So these were the big guys coming in as guns ablazing to challenge Marvel and DC's marketing. So King, this comic, I don't know who did this one. I'm gonna find out. King Blues, Michael O'Leary. So this is a real gestural, fun kind of. It's
That's
almost like
kind
a
of cartoon. Yeah,
sketchbook kind of doodle that got
see,
printed, but
that's
really
not my
sweet.
thing. That's kind of cartoony and sketchy. I mean, I don't mind the sketchy. It all depends, but the cartoony,
Right.
that's anthropomorphic stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. So here's the big reveal. Charles Vess.
Oh,
So this is one of those first Charles Vess, and if you don't know who Charles Vess is, he is somebody to be influenced by. Just an absolute amazing artist. Obviously, he's done comics. I think he's the artist. I'm going to misspeak, and I'll put the edit up there. But worked with Neil Gaiman, I believe, on Stardust. I don't
yeah.
know. My brain's a little fuzzy at this point, but real dreamy
He did
fantasy
Sandman,
reality ish. Yeah, just
Stardust, Heavy
really
Metal,
hard.
National
Hard to
Treasure.
pass this guy up. So
Yeah,
this was double the treasure in getting a Kent
he
Williams
did
and a
some
Charles
Swamp
Vest.
Thing. He worked for
Yeah,
Dark Horse, and on and on. Yeah, he's a good one.
yeah.
He's
So
heavily influenced by Arthur Rackham and Alphonse
yes, yes,
Mucha, Hal
yeah,
Foster. You could see the
yeah.
through
Oh yeah,
line.
he's a classic. He's a classic. So here's some New York comic shops that are giving a little advertising. Village Sci-Fi and Comic Shop, 319th Avenue of Americas, New York, New York.
That
Sullivan
I used
Street, Village
right.
Comics. Yeah, I was going to ask, did you hit these guys up?
Yeah, well, the one on Sixth Avenue, I think that used to be the one right by the Waverly Theater, and yeah, that was definitely on my stops every weekend, and they were
Nice.
half a block away from the Bat Cave, which was over on Third. No, yeah, Third and McDougal, right? And
Oh,
there was a there was a couple of cool comic shops. I didn't know that they had ads out. The one on Sixth Avenue didn't even have a name because they used to rent out their sign to a dress store that was like six stores over. It called the Perez Shops, and so it said Perez Shops real big, but then you would see comic books, and you're like, "What the hell is Perez Shops?" And then it would say like dress store like to the left. It was so weird.
yeah.
And then
Well, that's New York.
the Batcave was down in the basement. That's why they called it the Batcave. And that shared space was with Jerry Olinger's movie materials shop. So only half comics and half were like those 8x10 glossies from all the sets of all the movies.
So here's a Peter Cupper, Kuper.
Cooper.
I can't, Cooper Cupper. I don't know how you go about. This is a 79, but this is a quintessential heavy metal black and white magazine style story that I absolutely adore. So this was another bonus in this magazine for the little money that I put in it. And it's just this creature on a planet that shoots off into the air, and then out of the mouth shoots this gorgeous gal, and then she blows up into some sort of big bang, if you will, and of course
Supernova,
it's
yeah.
in the star, and then the panels lead down to this little boy that's just out in the
Very
in the
orgasmic.
evening staring at the stars. This is my thing. I silent black and white artsy is, and just I love it. I love it. This is part of my retirement package. This is what I want to do. It's just very esoteric short stories with no words. Another PC Comics, Attention Dealers. So here you go. You got Third Distribution Center, 1982. Things are booming. Black and
Wow.
white comics are booming. Now, this is always a really interesting. You get these in heavy metal quite often, which I think probably reflect more raw magazine attitude than heavy metal magazine attitude. But always interesting. Like you said, sketchy, cartoony, but sketchbooky. But I really dig this like that Kirby collaging to see what happens when you put it through the printer. When it comes back.
Oh
You're
yeah.
like, wow, what the heck's that all about? And this is a Peter Cooper too.
Bombs hit.
Boom. So this is some sort of short story by Michael A. Gonzalez. Like I said, I haven't read anything yet, but I will. I always like the prose because, especially in the 70s and the early 80s, they are very psychedelically purple, Hawkwind influenced. Time and space. Whoa, dude, let me
Right.
hit the bong one more time. Um, what this here? Kind of ran out of steam, I think. So they had to make it into this artsy fartsy type of thing. But yeah, I mean, you should have had an image here and then gone, man, there's nothing there either. So, these guys are on the startup, New Mutants, Chris Claremont, Bob McLeod, new graphic novel from Marvel.
Yeah.
Sent
82.
$4.95 plus $1.
Yeah, that's interesting that they're
Village Comics. So
it's
Village
interesting they're
Comics was selling them.
plugging a random Marvel title, like that.
Yeah, yeah. Well,
That's weird.
the other thing too is that everything's always still happening at this point in New York City. If you were going to become anything creative, you had to go to New York City. I got to do it. And then what would happen is you would meet so many different people if you're that gregarious that you're doing illustration. You might somebody bump into somebody who's into comics. They might be the editor of comic. Hey, I really like your work. You're at a show. Next thing you know it, you're doing a couple of covers for comics or maybe some interiors, whatever. But yeah, and then this one has that kind of power comics feel. Words, Rim Gonberger, and then pictures, Jordan Say. So maybe this was some friends from across the pond that
Hmm.
they were, they got a hold of the work. Maybe the people were just doing it there. And then a Stephen Cragg. I like this one. I love the boldness and gestural feeling in this. The cartoony, yeah, not a big fan of cartoons so much,
Yeah,
but
that's
real,
that's definitely a lift from BC. You could see the way they
yeah,
draw that
no, yeah.
those
But
characters.
here's another thing, and when we're talking about my work and wanting that distressed feel, these are definitely. I'll even hold it up a bit. These are definitely things I always like. I like that kind of stuff. I know other people it drives them crazy that it's not perfect, but for me it adds that kind of like little switch in the brain to stop you and go, what's going? Oh, it's messed up. But then who's that person? And kind of pulls you in by just having that.
Yeah,
Uh,
it looks like a little Hirschfeld influence there too.
yeah, I think once again, young person most definitely in their sketchbook or it was in the sketchbook and then they just laid it out on large papers and it gets sent out at a deadline to a printer, so after being pasted up, some editorial, and I'm assuming from Mr. Kent Williams. That's pretty cool. So, and this is what I wanted to. This is interesting. I'm
Yeah.
going to reach out to Kent Williams. I know this is going to sound insane, but I'm going to reach out to him and I'm going to ask him if he would want to come in and talk about what happened with Darkstorm 3, because he has got a lineup in here again. He's got another story. He's got O'Leary again. George Pratt does a poem, and then they. So I have looked, but not deeply. There might be a 3, and I just haven't seen it. But if there isn't, I'm going to contact him. I'm going to bug him on all the social media channels and stuff like that.
Hmm.
So, but this is a real. When I was in all the way up and through art school, I love this. I love the human figure, obviously being drawn from life, and all the added fantasy elements to it, and it being black and white. So this could do me no wrong. And then a nice, sweet ElfQuest 3 portfolio, Wendy Pinney.
Yeah, the early days.
So yeah, so that's great stuff. So these are, and we have another video. I did a review of Darkstorm 1. So you can just go into our little library. I usually put a link to the playlist of all of our comics that influence. But Jake, that's what I have for the kids. What do you have?
Well, let's see what I brought today. Looks so out in my travels, um, I was hearing about this artist Daniel Warren Johnson, and I looked him up
Yeah.
online, and
Yep.
it looks pretty interesting. And
Madman.
I usually shy away from image, but there's a couple of reasons why I picked this up. Um, Number one is it's called Do a Power Bomb, and it's that's a wrestling move it's referring to a wrestling move. You know, do a power bomb, do a power bomb. Um, and I looked at a couple of these, and it looks like very interesting, wrestling based storyline here that I can probably use, a couple of different, references for. We're doing pit fighting, which is not the exact thing, the exact same thing. Maybe our, sci-fi post-apocalyptic story is a little more violent, a little more gritty, but I picked up 4 issues of this at cover price when I was up in Ithaca. So these were like $3.99 a piece. So I got these $4 a piece, um, and it looks different from the usual Image stuff. Let's dig right in. Now, one problem was when I got this, I got number 5. I got 4, 5, and 6, and you're gonna laugh, but I thought this was 7 right here,
I'm sorry.
and I didn't
But you
realize.
ended up with number one. You always
But
complain you never get the number one.
but I got number 1. So there's going to be a gap here, and I'm going to spotlight number 1, and then I'll just kind of tease the others. Number 1 sets up the story, and what you got here is this kind of like a wrestling world where there's these big battles going on, and I'm here looking at this art style, which is really really nice with the thick blacks.
Go
So
to the
yeah,
right.
so
Go to the
I'm
right.
centered right here now.
Good, thank you.
Um,
Back to
so
action.
so I noticed this and I'm like, wow, they have some like stocky females. That's great. Um, I also like I like the brushy effect, and
Oh yeah.
I don't know if this is done on tablet or traditional. My guess is probably tablet. These, you know,
No, he's all by hand, other
oh
than the
really?
color. Oh yeah, he's a madman.
Yeah, because this is kind of like sumi brush style,
You know
and
Paul Pope, right?
I don't
He's the
know Paul
same
Pop.
camp. You don't know Paul Pope. Okay, well, because he's in that same camp as Paul Pope. So we'll have
Yeah,
to
I
dig
mean,
in there and
really
find out about Paul Pope.
laying on the blacks here, right? So you get some interesting indications here of a ceiling, and and of a floor, and of the wall, right? And sometimes it's scratchy, sometimes it's just kind of like arbitrary, like Kirby, right? Just to try to get some balance in here. There's plenty of detail, right? Not too much skimping on the backgrounds, even when the backgrounds are just kind of like abstracted. It's still something there. There's some value there, and then coming in and laying the color on gives it another dimensionality. You have all these gradients, and some of this kind of like distress effect and scratchiness. I'm not huge on the halftone dots that are just sparse like that. I like a tight pitch halftone dot. When it's like this, it makes it seem like it's like Roy Lichtenstein, or maybe like that effect that they're going for in the Spider Verse, where they have that punk rock character and they're purposely bringing in the pop art effects. But I definitely noticed that. Hey, this is a female fighter here. We got some setup here of like her relationship with her daughter, and this is the uncle, so I guess that's her brother. They're in this wrestling world. Um, One thing I'll point out about this artist, again, it's Daniel Warren Johnson, right? I want to make sure that's the artist, right? Writer, artist, and creator. And then look at this, Mike Spicer, the colorist, is getting side billing, which is really nice of the creator, I think. The coloring is pretty good, and so maybe he feels like it's really essential to the team effort here. You have a letterer that's coming in, which is interesting because this is not the traditional professional lettering. And then there's a variant cover by James Herron. I don't know which cover I have here. I think I might have the variant cover because this is looks like you know doesn't look like the splash that you want for your first issue. But so I'm really noticing like these angles, right? Worm's eye view here, worm's eye view here. All of this kind of like great diagonal movement. all of this like streamers and all of this like sound effects being laid on. I love this, right? There's so much here. It makes this really exciting. This does show to me like influences of Vaughn Baudet with these like heavy lines, real heavy outlines, and then kind of like even cartoony in some areas. um he gets very, very small, and for the storytelling, he wants to get through a lot. I mean, this might be 2 pages on another comic, where they really just give those sparse panels, but instead I like this. It's like, no, we have some stuff to get through, let's pack it all in. We'll just make the boxes smaller. And this really sucks you into the story, I think. It's going into like how she's making this emotional appeal to all of her fans, and to that she's not just fighting for herself, she's fighting for her family and her daughter, right? And then you see like here, they're crying, she's just the best there is. And you're wondering, oh, this is wrestlers, are they just laying it on thick here, or is this all part of the script? So now you see the bad guy, or the opponent, I should say. And, there's this big setup, let the games begin, ring, ring, ding, ding. So they're going at each other. Look at this great pose here, right? Look at this action
Yeah.
screen, right? This crack. They're doing the blur thing. So, there is Photoshop filters and stuff. But I love the action here. I love the way that the panels are kind of like, the panels are distorting a little bit here. The way the sound effects are bringing you through stuff, right? It's not just giving you the sound; it's also leading your eye, right? Like grab, right? What's that? There's no sound effect of grab, but it's there. Grab. We're just gonna do it, right? The foreshortening is great here. The manga lines here, bring in the kind of like the Japanese feel again. We talked about the Sumi effect. You got these big, Sumi blotches here, but then he goes back over it with these kind of like lighting highlights that could be spotlights. Here you see that the heroine is like thrown into the ring, thrown into the crowd, and then he's going to go in, and then he's going to do this big dive in the air, and he's going to smash his body onto her right in the middle of the audience, crashing everything in a million directions, right? Like, look, here she is waiting for it, and then boom. And so you're wondering, and now the reader's like wondering how much of this is a setup. You see the uncle saying, don't worry, it's going to be okay. But when he's getting her up here, he's going to do the top rope setting sun, right? He trembles here, and he loses his grip, and he slips. So you're seeing these sound effects like grab and toss, right, and slip. I love that, and I've never seen that before, right? Where they're just gonna blatantly just give you like these, one word descriptions of what's going on as a sound effect, right? I mean, you might
Well,
have
it's
seen
just
that.
to interrupt. That is how the Japanese make their sound effects.
Right, right. Yeah, I mean,
There's noises that come with the association of slipping, and so it's not squish or swish, it's slip, but
right.
they have a sound there. So he's definitely taking that as well as other elements of manga
Yeah,
making and Americanizing them.
yeah, he's combining it. I mean, here you see pull jump, pull jump plump. You're seeing some of that, but you do see some of that maybe like in some undergrounds, with like Robert
Yeah.
Crumb doing that stuff. Anyway, he slips and drops her, and her neck lands the wrong way. Crack, and a rough landing for the steel rose. So now the whole crowd goes silent, and this wasn't what they were expecting. Um, I just love this art. I love the way that it's like rough but confident. It's like unapologetic. He's doing these smears and splashes and everything. It works because it's just like, it's atmospheric, but there's also like the lights, and and he's also just throwing in this balance here, just like Sumi ink. Um, so here the mom is taken away, and we see this kind of mysterious face here smiling. Now we're going back, she's in the emergency room and we're going to flashbacks. And I love this fisheye lens, right? This is great. People should be using, these kind of references, like a room with a fisheye lens, and you're showing every little thing in the room. It's great. The mom and the daughter are here, just kind of lazing around. This was like in better times. Then we come to real life and emergency room, and here's the dad, and he says she's gone. So there's this sad moment, and then we're going 10 years later. So now the daughter is a wrestler, and this is going to be starting out the series. Do a power bomb, and here we see she's getting her ass kicked by this burly female wrestler here. This reminds me of Kirby right there. These flocked and these bams. This reminds me a little bit of Bill Sienkiewicz, right? You got a lot of influences
Yeah.
going on at the
Yeah.
same
Oh,
time.
yeah.
So I knew I had to grab this, right? So I'm thinking about some of these camera angles. I'm thinking about some of these sequences for our pit fights, although we're going to have a lot more violence, and here I'm not sure if this is scripted, just like wrestling, you never know like how much is scripted. If they're just going by a loose script and they're just making this stuff up as they go. But here you see she's just a young wrestler. It says she's only 18 now. Oh, she's only like 21 now or something. And she's gotten beat up. She's trying to get matches. She's trying to live up to her mom. The uncle who's in the biz is like trying to discourage her, saying, you're not all that. You're not your mother. And then she's walking home here. She's getting into a fight here with her dad. Don't come to my matches. I thought we could talk for a minute. They're having some troubles. And she wants to just be more like her mom. He gets pissed off. If you keep going, you're going to end up like her too. She says we're done, and she dips out. All of a sudden, this strange looking guy comes out and introduces himself, and he's got energy crackling in his background. He's got this trench coat. He's got this weird hair, and he says, "Might as well just show you, what he's capable of." I love the poses here, right? This is great. The way the dirt is kicking up here. You know, I love the way that there's these backgrounds there. This looks like these little shops and these little stores. It
Yeah.
looks
You're
like
not getting ripped off. You're not getting ripped off
no, there's
at
value, and
all.
when it's sparse, it's meant to be sparse.
Yep.
It's like it's not just copping out. So look at this.
Wow.
So he just like snaps his fingers, and skies open up, and he's got this magical ring here all set up with the lights. I think the glowing works here. If you're going to use Photoshop effects, it's stuff like this that works, like the little glows of the lights. And he's got this huge castle, and look at all this value here, right? He's got the dripping lava and the opening chasms and all that. So he says, "My name is Willard Necroton. Welcome." He said, "I'm a necromancer," and he's bringing her in here now to a tournament. But he says the belt isn't the only prize. I'd also like to talk about you bringing your mom back to life. And that's where it ends. To be continued. Then we have this whole text page here of the creator explaining his impetus. Here we have some cool bonus sketches, and here are some other poses that we see kicked in here. And of course, they got some merch in the back. You got the T-shirts and the stickers and the pins. And here he says he's represented original art and commissions. He's being represented by Felix Comic Art, exclusive representative for all these big names down here. And I guess this is another way for image artists to monetize, right? After you do your pages, why not sell it? Original art for sale and commissions, why not? I'm all for that. And here's the back cover. So let's just do a quick flip through here. I don't want to do too much spoilers. I think people, who have seen to this point might be interested themselves. Just want to point out, like this just looks just like so much Asian art, Asian comics, the coloring, the inking style, the level of detail. It's almost like you wish you would see it without the masthead. I wonder if they made a virgin cover of this. But here we're well into the story by number 4, where they have this storyline here, and yeah, we're just gonna flip through a couple of pages. You still see these real dynamic camera angles. You still see these like severe battles that are going on. Right, this is great if you're a wrestling fan, if you're a manga fan. I'm just going to let's skip ahead a couple pages here, right? There's lots of value going on here, right? Lots of showmanship, like kabuki theater, wrestlers, gimmicks, right? All this kind of stuff. Look at this great stuff, right? This
It's
is the
amazing.
uncle getting into it. So that's issue 4. Um, should we save it? Should we just save issue 5 and 6, or just rip
I
through?
think I think so. I think so. I think I also would like to see you get a hold of some Paul Pope, because I think you'd start seeing some more of that
Yeah.
connection. That's a I don't know. I don't know a lot about the two of them. I do follow them. I
Uh,
have always been attracted to their work and their process, stylistically too. But they're kind of part of this movement that was really working with. They worked in Japan. I don't know. I don't know if Darren
uh-huh.
did, but Paul Pope did. He went over and for a year made manga. So he learned how to make manga. But then when he came back, he started doing Batman comics and all this kind
Yeah.
of stuff. So the same thing is happening here. So there's this beautiful molding together, stylistically, something that I think is phenomenal. And I hope more and more people, myself included, uh,
Yeah.
it. So it's a great
Yeah. I
find,
mean,
Jake. Thank you for
yeah.
sharing. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I see like some indications of like Sam Keith. I also see some Don Simpson. You know, Don
Oh,
Simpson used to
there's
use
a whole world. There's a whole
this
world there.
real heavy,
But
heavy brushes. Brush lines for the outline, like so thick, like really laying it on thick.
yeah,
Just great stuff. So yeah, we'll gauge audience reaction, and maybe
yeah,
we'll come back. Maybe I'll pick up like issue 2 and 3, and maybe we'll do another one of those. But I don't want to belabor it. I just wanted to give a little taste of some of the other ones. We definitely went through number 1, and that sets up the series. I think it's a good setup. I like it. I'm in.
it's
And
great. Me too.
it goes up to issue number 7, which I thought I had, but I guess I had not. So yeah, that's my report. Daniel Warren Johnson, and maybe I'll have a more of an open mind for Image Comics in the future. This definitely, this is definitely good, and I like it. It's just so much Image stuff is just not my thing. I'm looking for like this real, I don't know, this I guess I know it when I see it. This real kind of like authentic indie feel, and some of the Image stuff just looks so templated to me sometimes.
Right, right. All right. Well, this ends up being a shorter version of comics and influence. That's all I got. Let these people get back to reading comics, making them if they do. Anything else, Jake?
That's it. Just check out our channels. We got the Making of Turbo Pit Fighter. If you like sci-fi, we're the first duo that we know of to be creating a independent black and white comic on the air every week.
Together,
We
side by side, every
side by
Sunday.
side, split screen, pencils and inks. I'm doing issue number 2. He's on pencils. He's inking issue number 1 every week. Um, and we have our other series, Comics and Influence, which you're just watching now. And then you can check out our interview series, Comic Creator Exchange. We also have done some cool flip throughs in the past. We did a Commandy series and a few other extras that we haven't really launched yet. But we're definitely taping the shows and getting it all ready for you guys. So check out our channels and set an alert and be a part of the network.
All right. I'll see you.
Later, y'all.